everybody, welcome back. Yes, I still have the man in the kitchen actually. Anyhow, you know what? It's just such a huge subject that we're not going to have enough time to talk about it, and we may do even a segment after this one. One very dear to my heart because, like, it costs us a lot of money, and goes back to the segment before actually, where we talk about inspections. So just take a minute before we go any further, subscribe either to my channel or to Tom's, or both would be awesome. And also, if you could make some comments, or if you have some questions, please put them down below, and I'd really appreciate it. All right, so let's go into buying into a strata. I can remember when we did this in one of our strata units, and I might be repeating myself. We were virgins. We had no idea. We didn't know where to look. We just believed everything everybody told us because we were getting a smoking deal because the banks weren't giving mortgages on it because it had been blacklisted, so we were paying cash. But you know what? If we'd have met Tom and we'd have done our homework, we would have actually had a really good deal because we probably wouldn't have bought. In the end of the day, it cost us a lot of money. And nobody was really sharing the information. The realtor didn't give us the information, and neither did the strata council, and certainly not the people that owned the suite. So buying into a strata, this is huge. What do you ask? Where do you go? Like, who's going to help you? I mean, we're talking about the biggest purchase you're ever going to make in your whole life, and I am really sorry. I feel so vulnerable. I feel like I could literally get screwed over in 10 different directions. And I'm ticked, and I want this to change. We're changing it. Tom, help us.
Well, I'd love to be able to help. I'd love to be able to make every building not deteriorate, and not, all building products have a recommended service life, whether it's the roof, the windows, the building envelope, the copper piping that's in the walls. When buying into a condo, I just want to stress the fact that the 4 most expensive components that are going to cost you the most money, none of them are inside your suite. Which, what are those 4 components? It's the roof, the building envelope, the parquet membrane, and all of the infrastructure, which is the copper piping, or maybe the mechanical, like the boilers and things like that, and or elevators. You know, right now in 2018, a new elevator is going to cost you about $50,000 to $60,000 to replace. And all elevators need to be replaced at the end of their service life, which is between 35 and 40 years. So if you're buying an older building, there's a $60,000 hit on some of these smaller buildings around Vancouver that are getting old in the East Vancouver areas and things like that. So when buying into a building, you're going in not knowing, as a person like yourself, you don't know much about building science, so you don't know how long the roof lasts and how old the roof really is. So it's a matter of hiring an inspector that's gonna work for you. Now, there are a lot of documents that can be attained when buying into a strata, like a depreciation report, which is new, and or the strata minutes that have been written by someone on strata or a property manager. But is that information accurate? So currently, right now, when it comes to depreciation reports in British Columbia, there is actually no qualification other than someone who the strata sees as qualified. And
so could they fudge it a little bit, or make it a little creative?
What I'm saying right now is if your strata, where you live, sees you as qualified to write a depreciation report, you can write it.
I'm not.
which is totally shocking to me that straight maybe a strata would do that. But you have to think of what's the strata's goal. And the strata's goal is to keep all their owners happy, but at the same time try and figure out something that's going to help them maintain and renew the building products that they're building. So, I write depreciation reports, and I've actually experienced situations where the strata wasn't happy with their draft copy of the report and wanted this all to go away now. We don't want to have to share this information with anybody because there's just too many renewal projects. Too many things were at the end of their service life, and they just wanted to go away. So instead of using my report and paying me for a report, they hired somebody else that fudged the numbers a little bit. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So I have had a depreciation report that was supplied to me that was written by the gardener of the complex. That was quite an interesting document. And I've actually had some reports that were written by the property's Strata, the Strata president. He saw it amongst himself that he could write the report. So it's all about, when you ever get a depreciation report, go immediately to the person who wrote the report and look at their qualifications and who were they. And that's going to give you an idea of your perception of the whole report. Maybe it's an independent engineer that has a diploma of technology. Well, that's not building science, that's technology. That means they can use a computer really well, right? So you really want to know who's writing the report. And then the Strata minutes, the Strata minutes are all been written by the Strata. So they put it out to the owners, they try and make everything look pretty, my experience has been they try and make things look really nice. There's no arguments, there's no conflicts, there's no problems with their building, but every building, there's no perfect home.
No.
Nobody's figured out how to build a perfect home yet, so we all know that every home has issues, and so those issues are supposed to be shared. Well, it would actually be quite a long list of documents if they had to share every single little issue. So, when buying into a Strata, it is so imperative to hire an inspector who's going to look at the 4 major components as part of their inspections, because typically inspectors only inspect the unit, not the building. The building is what's going to cost you the money. I know whether my clients are going to buy that condo before I walk into the unit. Wow. Because of the 4 things I've just finished looking at. I always look at the big items first. And so I go into the unit, and typically when you go into a condo unit, the 2 most expensive things in the unit would either be the range or the gas fireplace. Those are the 2 most expensive things in a condo.
Really?
Yeah. I do open electrical panels. I do look to make sure there's no fire hazards and stuff like that. But all those small electrical issues could be fixed quite easily. But it's those 4 components on the outside of the buildings that will drain your bank account. And going back to that experience you had told me a story about in North Vancouver, you were saying that it was the big ticket items were on the outside, not the inside.
Yes, and we did, and due diligence, we actually did. I actually phoned the company that was going to be doing the remedial on the building, and Strata had just won $1 million in their favor from the courts for these repairs. And then he kind of blew me away, and he said, lady, he said, $1 million is an estimate on what we're seeing on the inside. We have no idea where this expense or how big the bill's going to actually be once we start removing things, because we don't know what's underneath. We can only deal with what's on the outside. So it was just a rude awakening for us. I wish I'd have known you then and hadn't. Not that you can take walls out and see the inside, but I'm sure with everything that was going on, we would have been forewarned. But I have to say I was very disappointed in our realtor, because we were going to get an inspection, and he said, oh, no, you do not need an inspection. The Strata will take care of it. And they literally said, you're on your own.
And one of the things that I've heard that same sort of comment, that the Strata will take care of it, or someone's buying into a complex and they said, well, the Strata pays for the new roof. Well, you're right, but who pays for the Strata fee? Yeah. I think that's what people need to understand, is that they're the ones that are on the hook for any overages of the budget, which essentially turn into special assessments. Well, the Strata just doesn't pull money out of thin air.
No.
And it just doesn't appear for them. They have to get the money from somewhere, and it's typically it's always going to the owners for that money. So if there's a major problem, and a major problem may be like a replacement of a parquet membrane. There's a building in Vancouver area that was less than 6 years old, and the whole membrane had failed already because the thickness of the hot rubber that was put down wasn't thick enough, and it all cracked, and the water came in, and that building needs to a completely new parquet membrane. And the developer said, you're past your 6 years, which covers for moisture ingress, and we're not paying for that.
See, I think that's the problem. A lot of people get fooled because they go, oh, it's got a 2, 5, 10-year warranty. I can buy that. I'm going to be safe. You're not. You may be, but you know what? You need to find out, where is that building at, and then try to get it out of them. I'm really going fast up because I'm so excited about this. But the other thing is, it's so hard to get somebody to be honest and forthcoming when you're buying into a Strata on what the problems are. Like,
And that's why I think it's so important to have your own representation for that. Having an inspector, again, going back to one of our other videos, is how do you find the right inspector? Interviewing and talking to them, having a conversation on the phone with them, getting them to call you back. When inspectors pick up the phone, I'm happy to talk to my clients. I've had hour-long conversations with my clients as I'm driving home from one inspection home, and I'm happy to give them all that information prior to working for them, because even if they don't hire me to do their inspection, or I can't even get that scheduled into my busy schedule, at least I know they're going to be going off and asking the right questions with someone else. So ask the inspector, what kind of things they're going to be looking for, and if they're not mentioning those four big ticket items, they're not the inspector for you.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm going to throw this out to you for a second, and it might be, I know it's not, maybe technically not part of your inspection, but it reflects your inspection. It's really funny when I talk to friends who are just in the throes of maybe putting an offer or buying a condo, they'll say, oh my gosh, and this building is absolutely fabulous. I mean, we're getting about 1,500 square feet, and the strata fees are only $300 a month. Oh my God, it's just fabulous. Well, let me tell you, we bought into one of those buildings, and there was virtually no reserve, and it was only and we had 2,000 square feet, you guys. I mean, that is just bizarre. But we were virgins, we didn't know. And so, and the reason it was 300 is because they were just sneaking by on any of the maintenances that were being done. And that didn't work because there were all kinds of problems. I guess they had hidden the manual that a builder or contractor apparently gives the strata a manual on what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. Nobody knew where nothing had been done according to recommendations. So don't be fooled by, if they're that low, and that's probably pretty scary, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, and low maintenance fees typically mean that they're just trying to get by. It's all about kind of planning in the future too, because the problem and this is one of the reasons why depreciation reports were developed, but the depreciation reports, there's not enough maintenance items in the depreciation report. It's always about just renewals. So it's okay to spend money on annual maintenance to try and prolong the service life of all those building products, but that's kind of what I see has been missed in most depreciation reports. But if a strata's just kind of paying to get by and they're not doing any pre-planning, what happens is if the roof needs to be replaced and there's not enough money in the kitty to replace the roof, and they turn to the owners and say, okay, listen, we need everybody to cough up $2,500, and enough people in the strata say no, well then how do they replace the roof? And that's your investment that needs to be protected, that you're living in, and maybe you live at the top level and you voted yes for the special assessment. You're happy to give the $2,500, but people at the bottom level say, well, the roof doesn't affect me. It affects the people at the top, but they maybe don't understand it does affect them. But if there's not enough money there and the component can't be replaced in a timely manner, it's going to cause damage to everyone's structure and everyone's investment. Well, that's not a good thing either. So it gives the strata the ability to make those repairs in a timely manner when they need to be done, not relying on votes from the homeowners, basically, because the homeowners may say, forget it, we're not going to replace the roof, or we're not going to replace the building envelope, and a bunch of them band together and say no. Well, it's not about whether the homeowner sees fit the roof needs replaced, because if the roof leaks, everybody's home's damaged, and the insurance company's not going to be too happy either. So.
Yes, well, that's a whole insurance thing, which is another nightmare that people are facing in stratas. Don't get me wrong, you guys. There are some fabulous stratas out there that run some really tip-top buildings. They've got 10-year plans in place for roofing and gardening, and so that and everybody contributes on a monthly basis to that. And then there are some that it just really poorly run and the money is not there. And so check out your strata or your homeowners association and see how they're running it. It's a business. It's not we get together for coffee once a month and see what happens with the building. It's just really scary what's going out there. And just remember, at the end of the day, it's your investment. You may have bought this $1 million suite thinking down the road, I can sell it, it's going to be part of our retirement package, we can put some money in our pocket, or you're just starting your family, it's a way of life now, you're going to live there for 10 years, you want some return on your money, you don't want to be like just, it's like owning a boat, right? Where you're throwing dollar after dollar after dollar, and you may not have a strata that score the people living in the building that want to even contribute to fix these things. It's really important that we start a conversation about it, and it's going to start with your inspector, because at least if you get your inspection done, you can go back and see if you can get some of the things corrected or fixed, or maybe walk away.
Or maybe, well, it's just about knowing before you get into it. Yeah. And a couple of things I just want to mention as part of what you were just saying is all stratas have to maintain 25% of their annual operating budget as part of their contingency fund. So don't just look at their contingency fund, maybe it's $100,000. Well, $100,000 may only be 25% of a $400,000 a year annual operating budget. So they're at the minimum.
Yeah.
They've only put aside. The other is that there's, in Vancouver here, we have so much foreign ownership of condos. Mm-hmm. And so when you're buying into a strata, ask the question, how many units are in this building that are owned by people that currently don't live in this country? Because those people, believe it or not, never show up to an AGM. Yeah. They never vote. And without those votes, there may not be enough people on the strata to get a vote like roof replacement passed in a timely manner, and then trying to get the money out of those other people could be difficult as well. So it's kind of goes back to asking all the right questions video. Maybe we'll do another video on that.
All the right actually.
I think we need to make a big list.
Yeah.
But it's so important to try and pull all those documents together, and then again having someone who has a completely outside opinion of it, like myself, who understands what buying into a condo looks like. I've bought into condos myself, so I kind of have it from that knowledge as well, but as an inspector's knowledge, and pulling together all that information for your own knowledge going into it. It can be scary. It can be
really scary. It can be really scary. Well, as I've said before, you guys, this is the guy to hire, or get somebody with his kind of qualifications. Just do not buy without an inspection. Yeah. And me, I just talk about the stuff that we didn't look at, the questions that you may want to ask before you buy a condo from the inside, from what's it going to feel like in your new home. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking in. We're going to do another one. This might be endless, God knows. Anyway, have a great day, and check in next week. Subscribe, check, like, do all that stuff down below. We'd appreciate your support. Bye.